Good evening. I call to order this February 2nd meeting of the Winston-Salem City Council and would ask the City Secretary to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Light.
Here.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Bessie.
Here.
Councilmember Montgomery.
Present.
Councilmember Burke.
Here.
Councilmember Adams.
Here.
Councilmember McIntosh.
Here.
And Councilmember Taylor.
Present.
Thank you very much. Would you please join the City Council meet in a moment of silence? Thank you very much. And would you join the City Council meet in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our Sergeant at Arms tonight is Lieutenant Chris Fish. Lieutenant, thank you for being with us tonight. May we have the first resolution, please?
Resolution honoring the 2014 City of Winston-Salem retired employees. Whereas there are 80 City of Winston-Salem employees who have retired in 2014, and whereas the collective service by the retired employees totals 1,789 years, and whereas Gail Orr from the Finance Department has served the city the longest with 40 years, and whereas the work of all city employees is valued and appreciated by the mayor and city council and the citizens of Winston-Salem, now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and city council approve honoring the aforementioned 2014 City of Winston-Salem retired employees and wish them much success as they embark on new endeavors.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
I know no one's opposed, so that's unanimous. We have a number of our retirees on the front couple rows. May I ask them to stand up? Thank you very much. I know I speak on behalf of the council. They may want to say it themselves, but how much we appreciate the wonderful years of service that each of you have given to the citizens of Winston-Salem and made our city a much better place. So thank you very much. Councilmember Adams.
Thank you. I want to welcome each and every one of you to the world of retirement. And again, thank you so much for your years of service to the city and the citizens of Winston-Salem. But trust me, I know some of you already know, when you wake up in the morning now, it's like Christmas every day, isn't it? You're excited because you don't have to go anywhere in particular unless you really, really want to. I want you to enjoy your life, your new life. That's what it is. And still, don't forget to give something back to the community and your neighborhoods, okay? All right.
Councilmember Burke.
Yes, I was going to say thanks to each of you. And as the councilwoman said, it's just a joy to retire. But those of us who have been so dedicated and worked all our lives, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen to you the first part of your retirement. You're going to have to pray and ask God to let you be able to sleep late and not feel guilty because and so I prayed, and finally I was able to sleep late and not feel guilty because I served my time well. And I want you to know I sincerely appreciate all of you.
Thank you. Councilman Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. To all the retired city employees, I just want to say thank you for your service. You know, I sat here and I smiled and I got to thinking it's going to be a long time before I'm able to use that R word.
Amen.
And I think Councilmember Burke, Councilmember Adams just rubbed it in for me. But, you know, I always say this, but as a native son of this city, I appreciate your service, and I'm almost certain I wouldn't be here without you. So on behalf of the Southeast Ward, and the mayor spoke on behalf of the council and the city, we really appreciate your hard work and dedication and service to our community. Thank you.
Councilmember Light.
Thank you. I just want to warn you about one thing. Don't do what I did, which is retire and then do something foolish like running for city council. Don't do it.
Thank you, Councilmember Light. Thank you again for being here, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Tonight's agenda of the City Council is comprised of the following items. There's one rezoning petition. There are two items approving requests for certificates of public convenience and necessity. There's an item approving a request for financial assistance, an item making a recommendation for appointment to a board or commission. Two of the items are listed for public hearings, and when these items are called, the persons in the council chamber will be given an opportunity to speak. If there is opposition to the rezoning petition, the proponents and the opponents will be given 15 minutes to make a presentation and 3 minutes for rebuttal. No one wishes to speak, I'll close the public hearing and the City Council will consider the item. We, of course, are always televising our meetings live on TV 13, and they will be replayed again tomorrow at 9 a.m. and then Wednesday at 9 p.m. And, of course, copies of our agenda as well as videos of our meeting are always available online at our city website, www.cityofws.org, and just click on the Watch Meetings Online option. May we have item number 1, please?
Item 1, public hearing on zoning petition of Buell Barker Jr., Vicky Barker, and the William Bean Revocable Trust from GI to GO, property located on the east side of Ivy Avenue, south of Northwest Boulevard, located in the East Ward. Planning Board recommends approval of petition.
Is there anyone in council chamber who's opposed to this rezoning? I know the petitioner is here if there are any questions. Seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. I recognize Councilmember Montgomery.
Short presentation.
Mr. Norby, a short presentation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
You see the site here shown in yellow on the east side of Ivy Avenue, and you can see the surroundings there. You have a lot of general industrial zoning, some limited industrial zoning, and then further to the south, general business, and then getting down into the innovation corridor, zone CI, and other zoning districts. But this area is largely zoned GI. The proposal is to go to general office. You can see very urban pattern here with some older industrial uses and buildings that are in this area. Highway 52 goes through just to the east of this site. Here's some pictures looking south on Ivy Avenue. The site is immediately to the left of that sign. This is looking to the northeast, pointing the other direction. Site is on the right, and in the background you can see a couple of the billboards along US 52. Looking straight north on Ivy Avenue toward Northwest Boulevard, the site is to the right. And then this is directly across Ivy Avenue from the site, an older industrial commercial type building. The North Central Area Plan was adopted in 2007. Of course, we're in the process of finishing up the update to that, which will be coming to you soon, but this is just to point out that the site is in a mixed-use designated area of that plan. Rezoning may facilitate redevelopment of this underused site, and that would certainly be consistent with legacy. The site is adjacent to other GB and GI zoning, and the GO zoning is less intense than the existing GI zoning, but does include some intensive uses such as banking, college or university, hospital or health center, or helistop. I want to remind the council this is a general use rezoning, so that means that while there might be speculation as to any specific use, what we need to keep in mind as we're considering this is the entire list of uses that is on page 21 of your book there. That's all the uses allowed in GO, and if his property is rezoned, it could be any one of those uses there. This went on January 8th to the City County Planning Board for public hearing. There was no opposition, and the Planning Board recommended approval.
Any questions, Mr. Norby? Thank you, Mr. Norby. Councilmember Montgomery?
I've met with the petitioners, and based upon conversation from petitioners as well as not hearing any opposition from community, I move for adoption of the statement of consistency as set forth on page 27 of the agenda book and approval of W-3247.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke.
This is so close to the northeast, and that area has been really a blighted, depressed area. And I had questioned when I saw this rezoning, even though it's not in the northeast ward, sometimes it may have been in the northeast because we've moved things around so the lines. And I had looked and I had said that we had made a big investment with our training center, which is across from that Thomasville, the other one. And then Good Samaritan Kitchen was once in yours, and then it moved to mine. It was in mine, yours, then in mine. And with the investment that some of the people are making there, I would hope that what would happen would only enhance the area.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. That's unanimous. Thank you. Item 2.
Item 2, continuation of consideration of ordinances approving requests for certificates of public convenience and necessity for 2 taxicab companies in the city of Winston-Salem. This item was continued from the January 20th, 2015 council meeting. A, public hearing on ordinance approving requests for certificates of public convenience and necessity of city cab for the operation of 14 cabs in the taxi cabs in the city of Winston-Salem. And B, public hearing on ordinance approving requests for certificates of public convenience and necessity of Bluebird Taxi for the operation of 5 taxi cabs in the city of Winston-Salem.
Councilmember, staff advises that they would like to pull item 2. Need a little bit of additional work on some of the paperwork on that, so would entertain a motion to continue this public hearing to the March 2nd meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Item 3.
Item 3, second reading on ordinances approving requests for certificates of public convenience and necessity for 3 limousine companies and 1 taxicab company in the city of Winston-Salem. The first reading of these items was conducted at the January 20th, 2015 City Council meeting. Carolina Custom Transportation for the operation of 2 limousines, H&M Enterprises for the operation of 2 limousines, Yes Transport for the operation of 1 limousine, and Universal Taxi for the operation of 3 taxi cabs in the city of Winston-Salem.
This is the second reading and recognize the Chairman of the Public Safety Committee, Councilmember Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. As the city secretary read, this item was approved unanimously by the council on January the 20th and also by the Public Safety Committee unanimously on December the 8th, 2014. With that being said, I now move for approval of this item.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. Not all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. That's unanimous. Thank you. Item 4.
Item 4, continuation of consideration of items related to previously approved financial assistance to a revitalizing urban commercial area project. Finance Committee forwarded this item to council with 2 in favor, none opposed, and 1 abstaining. This item received a motion of no consideration at the January 20th, 2015 City Council meeting. A, resolution authorizing additional financial assistance for previously approved revitalizing urban commercial area project, Southeast Plaza Shopping Center, and B, ordinance amending the project budget ordinance for the city of Winston-Salem, North Carolina for the fiscal year 2014-2015.
Okay, council members, we do have a motion and a second on the floor for this item, and of course our policy is to not discuss these items unless the council unanimously approves that. So majority consent of that. And Councilman Burke, did you have a question of the city attorney before we voted?
I just wanted to make sure that I'm the one who called the no consideration and that the citizens would understand why at this particular time I cannot speak on this at all. Is that what you're saying?
If a majority of the council wishes to discuss the matter, then yes, you all can discuss it, but it has to be by a majority, consensus of majority. So you either see if anyone objects to it or just take a vote, see if you have a majority.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second on the floor, and I'm prepared to take a vote unless the council wishes to discuss. And I would entertain a motion.
I would make a motion that we open it up for discussion.
Is there a second? Okay, all those in favor of opening this item for discussion, would you raise your hand, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And all opposed to that would be 3. So there is a majority, so we can open it up for a brief discussion. And Councilmember Burke, would you like? And then Councilmember Clark as well.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This has nothing to do with Mr. Jose about this. This has to do with the city and how we have managed our business and our dollars that are tax dollars. And I don't feel we have been as serious about our dollars with projects that we have worked with in this community. I asked Mr. Brooks, of course I discussed with the city manager protocol, and asked him to direct Mr. Brooks to get me some information concerning this plaza. We may not see it, but we have made investments in the area. I want you to know that we have given to this particular area, not with the new person who's working with it, but in the past. It was once known as Parkview Plaza, and went from Parkview Plaza to King Plaza. We can show you today that the city has invested a total of $250,000 loans, and $215,000 was charged off, which means those are dollars that we don't see anymore, if I am correct with this. I've also said that we have, I feel, as I discussed seriously with the city manager this morning, that we cannot look at tax dollars, federal dollars, or regular dollars, property tax, people who pay their taxes, who are in situations that are not always good, but they're good citizens, and we have taken dollars and have not watched them as careful as we should have. I also made him aware of this. If we're going to be fair and do what we're talking about doing with the Southeast Gateway, the proposal that they had presented, and the one that we're voting on tonight, that then we have other folks that I feel who have made investments, and we should be fair across the board. You will be hearing from me later, and I would hope that this board will be as sensitive about all of our citizens when we give our dollars that belong to all of us to people. And Mr. City Manager, I know some of this you inherited, but I do feel that the department who was working with this RUCA money and with giving loans to small businesses, that we have not watched it as careful as we should have watched it. I've said on occasions that a bank or a business would never not monitor their money, and people would have to pay that money back or find some ways to replace it. And I say, let me be clear, we should take a very serious look with our other individuals who are small businesses, and if we have done them, the Southeast Gateway, what we're talking about, we should be just as fair to the other business people. Thank you, Mayor and
Thank
Mr.
you.
Council.
Councilmember Light, then Councilmember Bessie. And
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, RUCA money is supposed to be the city helping a depressed area, giving them a step up. And then the area should be able to, or the hope is, that they would leverage the private investment to continue the process. I cannot see our RUCA program as an invitation to return to the trough instead of going ahead with private investment to continue the process. You know, I've tried to see this as an economic development piece, but it still concerns me that a huge chunk of our RUCA money in the second round already went to the Southeast Gateway. And when you look at the list of loans that have been forgiven by the city, this is a way higher amount than that we would be forgiving if we voted for this. I don't want to see this as a precedent for all the other RUCAs who could come make the same argument that, you know, we got halfway done, but we want more. So I'm not going to be able to support this.
Councilmember Bessie.
Thank you. I think the questions that have been raised regarding this project are reasonable ones, and I think they have been reasonably answered. This is not a straightforward strictly economic development deal in which I routinely look for the bottom line return to the taxpayers of the city. This is more appropriately considered a community revitalization investment. The RUCA program, the Revitalizing Urban Commercial Areas program, was intended to stabilize and assist in recovery of existing commercial areas that over the years or decades have fallen into underuse and under repair. That is for the purpose of, yes, continued general economic health of the city, but also in particular to contribute to the well-being of the community surrounding the RUCA. This is an example in which the redevelopment begun at this center has been done according to expectations. The money invested has been used appropriately, repairs have been made. This is an example in which the RUCA program is working, and I think it is reasonable on a case-specific basis to expand the city's investment in continuing to see that the revitalization of this area continues to work well. This plaza represents the only thing which prevents a substantial part of this area from being a food desert. It is also the only location in which health services are directly provided. One of the investments which has the potential to come into this area, in part because of additional investment here, would continue to expand the health services provided to this part of our community that people would otherwise have to travel halfway across the city to obtain. This is exactly the kind of community investment that we need to be making when it is done properly, and I believe that this is a case in which it has been done properly, and we can be reasonably confident that it will continue to be. I would point out that this is not an instance in which most of the additional investment proposed here would be coming out of the RUCA program. The only additional RUCA funds would come from another proposed investment in the same ward, which investment has not been carried forward because it was not ready. It hasn't worked out. So this is not an instance in which other RUCA areas in the city are being deprived of funds. I support it.
Thank you. Councilor Montgomery.
I think a lot has been said in reference to this, but I think that it's very clear that there's no other RUCA area within the city of Winston-Salem that can bring this same argument. And so I think that for us, and there is no precedent set except for the fact that we have an area that has, as Councilmember Bates has done exactly what they've been asked to do. I think this is more of a principal question of looking at community and economic development and revitalization, that we must understand that with this program, its intent has been great. But as we look at this, we have to understand that sometimes we have to adjust the plan to accommodate, in this case, success as what we've seen. We've seen the spillover of this investment by the private developer as well as the public dollars being spent of what has happened in and around this location. And I think that, along with the dollars that have been matched and exceeded by the owner and the group itself, is also a statement that the city is not just footing the bill for this, but the city is also partnering, and the individual partner is putting in their dollars as well to make this happen. What we also have to understand is that in other parts of our community, when we believe that revitalization is necessary, we've come to invest in those areas as well, and oftentimes have not seen the same type of partnership and investment as we've seen in this community. And so I want us to continue to look as a community and as a council to understand that revitalization of any neighborhood and any community isn't an easy task. As we've invested within this shopping center, we also understand and know that there are also systemic issues surrounding that community and neighborhood that this shopping center is assisting with. But as we look at other programs that we have, such as TURN, which begin to focus on neighborhood and housing, in the same manner as we've looked in the RUCA area, that we have to understand that we're going to face some of the same things with this. And so for me, we have to understand and get a real clear picture of what it takes to really do revitalization. And to me, just believing that one shot in the arm is going to do it is not a sufficient way to look at it in the beginning.
Thank you. Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. One of the things we have to look at, again, as some of my other council members have spoke to, when you do community development versus economic development versus revitalization, they all go into different boxes. And what we have in this instance is we have something really going on in each one of the boxes. you can't, well, the RUCA idea was a great phenomenon when it came up, but we didn't know now, we don't know now what we knew then. We didn't know then that we were going to be at this point, and just like we know as the council now, we've had to backtrack and readjust the plan of what we do in the city of Winston-Salem for different parts of our community. What we have is a distressed community, a food desert, as Councilmember Bessie said. We have health disparities, and you have investors that have invested in a blighted area of a community that has been sitting there blighted for decades, that took a chance. This is no different, and nobody's said it yet, but I know we all think it. This is no different than the ballpark economic development. This is no different than the innovation quarter economic development. This is no different than taking a chance on Restaurant Row in downtown Winston economic development. But see, this is a different niche. This is not only economic development for the community in the city, this is community revitalization and community development, providing resources and services to a community that wouldn't have them any other way. I think what we've done is we need to look at how we're treating them, and we've talked about this at the council. As we move forward on these different projects, we're going to address them and look at them differently. And I feel like this particular project, as I have said before, when it was started, is a success story. I would wish that every commercial area in the urban core that used to be vibrant shopping areas would look like the Southeast Plaza. I just got a shot in the arm on University Parkway with just Walmart. I drove through there. I told some of my council members yesterday I couldn't get in the store. There was so much vibrancy in that shopping center that hasn't been there in decades since Kroger's was there. So I will be supporting this, because if some of us don't take a stand and think out of the box and partner to do revitalization in our urban core, then again, we're building a gated community where only the ones that can will, and the rest of us that can't, it won't happen. So I will support this.
Councilor McIntosh.
I've struggled with this. I've spoken to quite a few other people on council about this issue, and I guess the reason I'm going to come down on a no vote on this is that I do believe this is different than some of the other projects that are talked about in terms of economic development. Part of my frustration is the lack of clarity and the lack of focus of what RUCA really does. Now, I was not on council when the program started, but was associated with the West Salem RUCA project. And to me, this project seems different. It seems out of scale. It seems like we are being asked to step in a very big way on a single project. And I know it's not all RUCA funds coming out of here, but there's only so much money that we can spend towards community development. I do agree that we don't expect the same kind of return on our dollar in a community development project as we do on an economic development project. So as to Mr. Bessie's point, I think in a straight economic development deal, our metrics need to be a lot tighter. I'm going to vote no, though, not necessarily because of this project, just because of the fact that I think we approach our RUCA deals in sort of a haphazard manner. And I know we're going to be talking about that going forward, but I think we have to have more clarity in order for me to vote to spend this kind of money.
Thank you. Councilor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I'll start by saying that the people of the Southeast Ward and the people of the eastern portion of the city, they sent us down to City Hall to fight for jobs, to fight for economic development, and to fight to keep our tax dollars in our community. And for me, this is what we're fighting for here today. I believe this project is part of a larger picture. Anyone who's familiar with this area knows that historically the southeastern portion of the city has been overlooked when it comes to economic development. And this is our opportunity to get in line and see our community to grow and flourish. If you look at Bowman Gray Stadium and you think about the Runners Park Golf Course and Runners Park Recreation Center and the Quarry Project and Salem Lake and the new public safety center that will be on Waltown Street, all of these projects tie into what we're doing here today, and that's fighting for promoting jobs and economic development in our community. I can say that this isn't a handout. It's cliche to say, but this is a hand up. And we're not coming to the table and giving somebody something and they're going away and making their pockets fat. The developer has invested and will invest over several $1 million of his own money to see this project come to flourish. And not only will we see an investment in the area, but we're also getting 6 acres of land behind the shopping center that can be used for recreation or parks or some other type of facility. I think Councilmember Bessie hit it on the head. Without this particular project, the grocery store in the shopping center, there's only one other grocery store in the entire southeastern portion of the city. Though some may not feel that this is something we should do, this is something that's very important to the people that I represent and very important to the people that Councilman Montgomery represent. This is exactly what the RUCA dollars are designed for, revitalizing urban commercial areas. And that's what we're doing here today. And contrary to popular belief, we're not taking RUCA dollars from other areas, except for the one in the Southeast Ward that didn't quite get off the ground. And we're taking that money, and we're giving that money new life. And we're putting that money into the Southeast Plaza project. And I must say, there have been some people who talked about, watching the dollars and the tax dollars, and I think we ought to do that. But we should also talk about this is the most successful RUCA project in the history of the city of Winston-Salem. And I think this is the poster boy for RUCA, or the poster girl for RUCA, however you want to put it. And I think other projects should look at what we've done here, how we've watched the tax dollars, how we've managed the tax dollars, how we've gotten an investor to come in and manage and put his own money into the project in order to see this area grow and flourish. So to me, this isn't about handing dollars to someone else. This is about seeing the southeastern portion of the city grow, flourish, and develop, and keeping our tax dollars in our community, and finally seeing some development east of 52. And I got to admit, when you start talking that way, people start getting nervous. But if this were the ballpark, or this were the Innovation Quarter, or this were Restaurant Row, or several other projects in the city of Winston-Salem, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But I think there are a number of good people who understand the value of what we're doing here in the southeastern portion of the city, and I will be supporting this item.
Thank you. Councilman Clark, you did want to...
I wasn't planning on, but since I'm the only one who hadn't spoken, I kind of feel lonely over here. I have had some concerns about this, and I will express them briefly. This isn't the first or the second or the third or the fourth. This is the 5th request for money. And my concern is the lack of a comprehensive plan from the beginning that says, this is what it is, this is what it's going to cost, let's put together a plan. I suspect there will be a 6th and a 7th before it's all over with. Secondly, I am very concerned about the precedent we're setting, because we have all sorts of loans out there for people who have helped distressed areas. Matter of fact, that's what all the RUCA money went for. How can we forgive this and not forgive every other one out there? So we are setting, I think, a terrible precedent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. And certainly, let me just comment as well that this is not a typical project. I think Councilmember Bessie said it very well. It's a catalytic project for this whole area of our city, large project. The thing that I keep coming back to is such a good return on our investment. For every $1 that we put into this project, there's been over $3 of private investment, and that ratio is going to continue here, so it's a good return to the taxpayers. It already has a pharmacy, as Councilmember Bessie mentioned, and there's an opportunity for additional medical facilities to come in there. And the thing that I've seen over my years in development is you can't give a project just enough to fail. You got to make sure you stick with it to the end. And I certainly understand what Councilmember Clark is saying about coming back without a comprehensive plan. But sometimes these redevelopment projects, these rehabilitation projects, you run into things you don't know are there, and you come back. So I certainly would support this and am supportive of it. Councilmember wanted to make an additional comment.
One other comment, because I'm sitting here, as I stated, it's not that I'm against this project, but I do not like for us to sit here and say some things that I know may not be totally true. There has been work and money spent in the southeast area. Those were tax dollars. If we can understand clearly what I am saying, is that when you talk about doing a program, the program has not been managed. That was my concern with the city manager. If the program had been managed properly and taken seriously, the problem that we're having, even in looking at the overall project in the southeast area, I'm concerned about the Ogburn Station. because we're using some of their tax dollars. And those business people there have been struggling and trying to make a difference. But as I stated to the city manager, I'm going to say it again. Our city is a business. It is not being managed like a business. It is no way in the world. I wish I could do business with you all, because, I mean, it's good doing business with the city. When you look at the interest on the dollar, you look at people being forgiven for these loans. I'm saying whatever we're going to do, and I think this is an understanding to this chairman of this finance committee, and even the vice chair, that you need to take some time to evaluate these programs and see how we can make them better. If we have people who are in jobs, and people in the jobs are not as sophisticated as they ought to be in doing business, that needs to be addressed too. We need to stop skirting around certain things. We have wasted and spent a lot of dollars in this city on projects, even when the mayor was the mayor. And the comment he made a few minutes ago, we don't need to, what we have not done in this city, we have not taken certain areas seriously, since y'all been skirting around it a little bit. We have not taken certain areas seriously. And that's why the projects you see have not been completed successfully. We can start simply with the East Winston Shopping Center, how they threw that little junk over there to us and thought we ought to have been grateful. Have planned that. So I'm saying to the city manager, your challenge is to look at who is running these programs and to see if we're truly running them like a business. And to the mayor and members of this council, I am saying, if we're going to do something for one, we need to be fair across the board to all of our taxpayers.
Thank you. We do have a motion second on the floor to approve this additional financing for this item. All in favor of that motion, would you please raise your hand? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The motion passes 5 in favor, 3 against. Those voting in favor, Councilmember Taylor, Montgomery, Adams, Bessie, and Burke. Thank you very much. Item number 5.
Item 5, Mayor Jones' recommendations for appointment to board or commission. A, Planning Board, City County Planning Board. George Bryan, appointment, term expiring February 2019.
Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. That's unanimous. Thank you. Councilmembers, we do have a need to go into a closed session to discuss an economic development matter, and I recognize Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the City Council go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A4 to discuss the location or expansion of industries and or businesses within the city.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. That's unanimous. We'll go into closed session. Thank you.
Yes.
Is there a motion to end the closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Taylor, second by Councilmember Adams to end the closed session. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. That's unanimous. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move for adjournment.
Second.
Councilmember Adams moves to adjourn. Councilmember Taylor seconds the motion. All in favor of the motion to adjourn, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. We are adjourned.
We're all fans.